want to ask you, you may have heard the term the Black Hole of Calcutta. A lot of people use it for horrific situations. Either they find themselves in or if they see something that looks really horribly in its just vision, they might say, oh my gosh, that looks like the Black Hole of Calcutta. But what the Black Hole of Calcutta, it was a small prison dungeon in Fort William where the troops of Sahib Judala, the Nahab of Bengal, held British prisoners of war for 3 days. On the 20th of June, 1756, John Zephaniah Howe, one of the British prisoners, an employee of the East Indian Company, said that after the fall of Fort William, the surviving British soldiers, many of the Indian troops, and the Indian civilians were imprisoned overnight in conditions so cramped that many of them suffocated to death just that night. And that 123 of the 146 prisoners of that war imprisoned there died. Almost all of them. Many people find themselves in their own kind of suffocation in their life. They're in boxes they don't seem to be able to break out of. They find themselves being almost overwhelmed and pushed in, and the anxiety builds up and they aren't sure which way to go. Somewhat like possibly King David. David, who wasn't king yet, was on the run. And he found himself in what you might say to be trapped into the black hole of his own Calcutta. Now I suspect that many of you are familiar with that old campfire song that goes like this. I'm not going to sing it. Pack up your troubles in your old kit bag and smile, smile, smile. I see some of you actually mouthing those words. You know it so well. Well, I wonder if you know that the man who wrote that song died by committing suicide. When he was confronted with tough times in his life, he found out the old smile, smile, smile wasn't quite enough. Today, in many churches, and we've even sung the hymn, "This is my Father's world," I rest me in the thought that rocks and trees of skies and seas his hands the wonders wrought. But I wonder if you're also aware that the man who wrote that hymn also died of suicide. When it came to confronting the discouraging and depressing times in his life, it wasn't enough for him just to meditate on the beauty of the earth and the rocks and trees and the skies and seas. He did something more than just that. That's what I often think when people tell me, oh, I don't need to be together in a worship experience in church. I get all of God I need out in nature. Well, so did he think that. You know, there is throughout the Bible this idea of a wilderness experience. It's one of the main things. It's what the Hebrews experienced when they left the Pharaoh of Egypt and went out in what was called, and know that understanding, their wilderness experience. I mean, they were completely in that time dependent on God. They forged with God a total and complete dependent relationship for every bit of food, for shelter, for everything they got. It was clear it was given to them by the hand of God. Now that happens still all the time for all of us, but we don't see it quite that clearly. But for them, it was a wilderness experience that really brought that to the forefront of their minds. The wilderness experiences of life create fear, disappointment, discouragement, and depression. We all know the feeling of that experience, but what we do know is that God has other intentions for us if we only fall back in His arms. Now let me make it clear, I'm not talking about clinical mental illness where medication is required, nor am I speaking of the type of trauma-induced pain where psychotherapy is necessary. Clearly, if you need special medical help, get it. Get it. Don't hesitate. It's there by God's grace to pick you up. But today I'm speaking about all those times when you and I have our own kind of wilderness experiences. When we feel like we're out wandering around, we aren't sure which way to go, and we're afraid we're falling into a kind of black hole that we don't know which way to get out of. Today I'm speaking of our life journey that all of us have changes and hurts and disappointments. And I'm not talking about Norman Vincent Peale's power of positive thinking. Positive thinking is great, but it doesn't take you all the way. Nor am I talking about Joel Osteen's think better, live better. Now, thinking better can take you quite a bit, but it's not going to get you into the hem of touching the garment that Jesus is wearing that is going to ultimately bring you the healing that you need. I'm talking about touching a power that's not of our own making. It's not of our own imagining. It's not coming out of our own minds and hearts. It's coming by the very throne of God's grace, and it's available to you. Here's the problem. Too many people just really only want to rely on their own resources. They don't know how to handle disappointment, discouragement, defeat, and depression. They don't know how to make use out of an abuse that they might have suffered and learn from it. They don't know how to profit from their problems. That's what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about it in terms of the experience of David, which in 1 Samuel chapter 21. At this point, David is confronting his own black hole, his own wilderness experience. I mean, he thought he was really good friends with King Saul. He thought that after killing Goliath, he was in. He had a way in. He would always be kind of a hero in the city, in the county, in the country. But suddenly Saul got so jealous that he went after David. He wanted to do him in, and ultimately, all the tables were turned. The whole nation was against David. All the soldiers were trying to track him down. He was on the run. David quite literally ran for his life. In his haste to escape, however, he didn't take any provisions, didn't take any food, didn't take any weapons. He was running. He had to get out of there fast, so he just took off. There he encounters an old priest, Amalek. David knew that if Amalek knew the truth, that he was running away from King Saul, Amalek would report it to the authorities. So David uses a little bit of a ruse. Amalek says, "What are you doing out here all alone? I would expect you to have a whole company of people with you. After all, you're the great and wonderful warrior who took on Goliath." And David said, "Well, I'm on a special assignment. I'm doing something really important. And I had to leave so quickly to get on the king's business that I had to leave without any provisions. What do you got for me?" Well, Amalek replied, "I have only this sword of Goliath, the Philistine, whom you killed. It's hidden away, but if you want it, you can have it." And David said, "There is none like it. Give me the sword." Now, I want to take those words of David and stretch them out a little bit and bring out some principles that I think might help us as we think through how to find ourselves even more fully dependent on God's grace, no matter what lies ahead. First principle, we can always find some profit in every problem. We can see quite clearly in the experience of David, when David asked Amalek to give him the sword of Goliath, David was essentially taking that which was initially brought out to do him harm, to do him in, to kill him, and he was now going to take that what was once a problem and turn it into a profit for him. That's what it means by finding profit in your problems. I want to suggest to you today that every experience we encounter in life is like a sword. It has two ends. It has one that's sharp and will hurt. The other end is the grip, the handle. We can use that to do some good, to make some progress, to forge our way ahead. When we lose, we need not lose the lesson. that comes with defeat, with disappointment, with challenge. We often learn more from loss than we do from winning. You know, my daughter Sarah played an astounding volleyball team that was head and shoulders taller than any of the ones on her volleyball team. And the first game, I guess Sarah's team was completely overwhelmed. But they came back and they fought back. They didn't win, but they learned a lot from playing people that were so much larger, bigger, stronger, older. That's the way you learn things. You learn often much more from losing than you learn from winning. God's always, and I do mean always, has good for those who love Him, even in loss. God can see into the future, and we can't. God can see what's ahead. God can see that in that loss, it's one step toward a further gain. February 3rd is a date some may even remember. It is the anniversary of the day Buddy Holly, J.P. Richardson, and Richie Valens perished in an airplane crash. You probably know the general outline, the day the music died. In early 1959, Buddy Holly, J.P. the Big Bopper Richardson, I love that name, Richie Valens, and Dion and the Belmonts toured through the Midwest. They were called the Great Winter Dance Party. And they went through the Midwest, but in that time of year, it was so cold, and their bus was so drafty, and it kept breaking down that they were absolutely feeling like they were freezing. In fact, one of the guitarists, Tommy Jessup, recounts how he had to actually be hospitalized for a short period of time because of frostbite. And finally, Buddy Holly charged a small plane for one of the upcoming trips, at least for a short period of time. They're going to get there quick, and they'll be warmer. Well, Jed also recounts how he went inside to make sure they didn't leave anything behind, and he ran into Richie Valens, who challenged him, dared him. He said, "I want to take your place on that plane. How about if we flip a coin and whoever wins gets that spot on the plane?" Alson, foolishly in his mind, said, "Okay, I'm willing to give you a shot." They flipped the coin, and of course, Valens won. He got the seat on that ill-fated plane. Alson lost the coin toss. He was so disappointed, he was so upset and so worried that he's going to be cold the rest of the trip. Ultimately, it was that loss that saved him his life by God's grace. We can't see down the road. We don't see really fully what's ahead, but God does. And God sometimes preserves us for His purpose on this earth. He's got a special plan for us. He's got a mission, a ministry, a place to do His work, to be His person, to do His will. Sometimes losing is not the worst thing. Sometimes it's the best thing. To illustrate that, I refer you to the marvelous statue of David sculptured by the master artist Michelangelo. The statue stands today in the city of Florence. Gorgeous, gorgeous statue. It's unbelievable. Maybe you don't know the whole story about it, though. The citizens of Florence banded together and commissioned an unknown sculptor to carve a statue of David. They secured an immense block of the very finest marble for the sculpture to use. However, all this sculptor managed to do to that marble was to ruin it. He hammered, he hacked at it, he chiseled it, he made everything that wasn't beautiful out of it. Finally, he gave up. The great block of marble stood in that town for 50 years unused. The people of Florence jokingly responded to it as their ugly giant. Ultimately, they commissioned Michelangelo to carve a statue of David. Now, that great block of marble was marred and scarred so bad it seemed as though no one could ever redeem that and make it look like anything worthwhile. Michelangelo said, "Give me the sword." He took the problem by the positive end, and after more more than 2 years of arduous labor, he produced one of the greatest masterpieces humanity has ever seen brought forward. Michelangelo took a negative and transformed it into a positive. Understand me, please. This is not just some cheap pep talk. I'm giving you what I'm talking about here is very basic to the Christian experience. It was certainly basic to the experience of Jesus. Look at Calvary for the clearest example of all. Here's Jesus. He took a monstrous negative, the cross at Calvary, and he turned it into such a positive that you have the opportunity for new life in Jesus Christ and to live with him eternally in paradise. We can turn negatives into positives too with God's help. We have the power of Almighty God available to us in Jesus Christ. Second principle, the tougher the problem, the tougher we become facing it. Again, we see that clearly in David's experience. He said to Amalek, "Have you a sword?" Amalek said, "I have only the sword of Goliath, whom you killed." David then said, "There is none like it. Give me the sword." He knew that was the best piece of equipment you could possibly have in those days. It was enormous. It was made especially for that giant Goliath. If I can handle a sword like that, then every other weapon will be nothing compared to it. He understood, you see, that the greater the problem, the greater the benefit when you tackle it. Or turn that around and say it this way: the tougher the problem we face, the tougher we become facing it. Think again of Michelangelo. He is regarded without question the greatest artist who ever lived. On one more occasion, he was asked what he attributed his enormous talent to. The answer was the same. He said, "For all the years of my life, I have dealt with the hardest material, stone, and I have dealt with the most difficult form of art, sculpture." He was right. Sculpture is indeed the most difficult form of art. In any other form of art, you add something. You put something on. If you make a mistake, you can take it away. But in sculpture, you take things away, and once it's gone, you can't put it back. So Michelangelo said, "Because I have worked so long with that which is difficult, I've been able to create that which is beautiful." That's the way life is. That's the way life works. The tougher the task we face in life, the more capable, the more confident, the more powerful we become in dealing with it. We choose to express it this way: big problems make big people. That's worth remembering. Because you're going to face a problem that's going to be so enormous, it's going to look you in the face, and you're going to think, "My gosh, there's no way around this one. I'm stuck. I'm trapped. I don't know what to do." But I'm telling you, if you face it with the confidence that you've got God at your back, you will be stronger when you face it. Third principle, what we use, we do not lose. Once again, we see the experience of David running away from Saul, flailing for his life. David was ready to take advantage of any opportunity he could come across. As soon as he encountered Amalek, the first thing he says, "Have you got any food? Have you got a sword?" David was ready to take advantage of whatever this priest and prophet could give him. David was always ready to take advantage of anything. He was ready to use whatever happened. Now, this was true, David, because he had confidence in himself, but he had more confidence in God. He knew that God had shined his love upon him in a very special way. It is clear in Scripture that God has looked upon David, and God didn't condone everything David did, but God could see his heart, and he knew that his heart was given to him. That David had a heart for God, and God honored that, and God cared for David, and God watched over David, and God protected David, and that gave David a confidence that he could go wherever he needed to go in God's name, and he could face whatever he had to face. He could move ahead with positive purpose. Once more, Michelangelo, every time he struck the chisel with the hammer, he knew that he would knock away a part of that stone that could never be replaced. What's more remarkable is that he used a 3-bladed chisel so that he could make 3 cuts with every single blow. Now, where did he find that kind of courage? He says to himself, I know that this gift I possess is a gift from God, and I know further that I am called to use this gift. He understood what we use, we do not lose. You know, you think of a person who says, well, I'm not going to exercise my muscles because I might need them someday in a tragic event. So I'm going to just sit and be quiet and not try to expand my strength. But you know, if you don't use them, they're going to go away. If we were to do that, then we would discover that when we need them, they're no longer there. Back in 1950, William Faulkner was awarded the Nobel Prize in Literature. In his acceptance speech, which was regarded as one of the classics in world history, Faulkner said, man shall not only endure, he shall prevail. For he is immortal, not because he alone among the creatures has an inexhaustible voice, but because he has a soul, a spirit, capable of compassion, sacrifice, and endurance. I wouldn't pretend to understand I know exactly what Faulkner was talking about when he said that. But I can tell you what I take away from those words. You see, I believe that we're directed by God through life even beyond. We are called by God to use every gift, every opportunity for God's purpose on this earth. With everything that he sets before us on our pathway is his opportunity for us to show ourselves to be truly his. We're called to build our lives upon the rock of Jesus Christ. In so doing, we shall not only endure in the midst of problems and difficulties which are ours, but by his power we shall prevail over them. The words of the hymn are true. His oath, his covenant, his blood support me in the overwhelming flood. When all around my soul gives way, he then is all my hope and stay. Well, there they are, 3 principles which point the way to victory over disappointment, discouragement, and defeat. Number 1, we can always profit from every problem. Number 2, the tougher the problem we face, the more strength God will give us and the more powerful we will become. Number 3, what we use in life, we do not lose, especially when it is spiritual. A little girl walked to and from school daily. Though the weather that morning was questionable and clouds were forming, she made her daily trek to the elementary school. As afternoon progressed, the winds whipped up, along with thunder and lightning. The mother of the little girl felt concerned that her daughter would be frightened as she walked home from school, and she herself feared that the electrical storm might harm her child. Following the roar of thunder, lightning, like a flaming sword, would cut through the sky. Full of concern, that mother quickly got in her car, drove along the route of her child's school, and as she did so, she saw her little girl walking along, but at each flash of lightning, the child would stop, look up, and smile. Another and another were followed quickly. With each, the little girl would look up at the streak of light and smile. When the mother's car drove beside the child, she lowered the window and called to her, "What are you doing? Why do you keep stopping and looking up?" The child answered, "I'm trying to look pretty. God keeps trying to take my picture." May God bless you as you face the storms that come your way. Dear friends, commit your life to Jesus Christ. Employ those principles in your daily experience, and I promise that instead of the agony of defeat, you will know the thrill of victory. After all, you are his child of the covenant and the heir of all the promises of God. Let us pray. Lord, we have a power within us stronger than any